feels like we're saying this every night now, but the Celtics may have just had their best win of the season, a 123-117 win over the New York Knicks. Jaylen Brown goes off for 42. Celtics get contributions from pretty much everybody on the roster. We'll talk about all of that in just a moment.
Jaylen Brown with the flush. Tatum the drive. Tatum the finish. It is Banner 18. The mission commanding is mission accomplished.
So I'm here at TD Garden right after the Celtics victory, and this was another game that I just feel like all the odds were stacked against them. You start the game down 17-4, and you're looking at a Knicks team that has been the hottest team in the Eastern Conference, headlined by Jalen Brunson, Mikal Bridges, Josh Hart, who's been playing out of his mind, Karl Anthony Towns, Deuce McBride, who's been a great starter for them, and you have Mitchell Robinson coming off the bench, impacting winning, starting games, crashing the glass. And it just felt like, you know what, the Celtics have had some great wins recently. They beat the Cavs, they beat the Pistons, they beat the Magic, but the run ends here. That's how it felt for the first few minutes of this game. Jaylen Brown doesn't have a great start in this one. He's struggling a little bit, a couple of turnovers, a couple of fouls, and we're looking around and this place is a little nervous, a little quiet, and next thing you know, everything kind of turns. And 2 hours later, this place is as lively as it's been all year. It's as lively as it's been, honestly, at any point during my time covering this team during the regular season. And you're starting to think to yourself, like, what is the Celtics team capable of? There's so much positive to draw from this one. I think it would honestly be hard to even limit it to just a few things, but I want to start at the top, and that's with Jaylen Brown, who came into the season with a lot of question marks, right? What is he going to look like without Jason Tatum? What is he going to look like as the number one scoring option? What is he going to look like with the ball in his hands and his usage rate way higher than it's ever been in his career? And sometimes I laugh when I think about like all the doubts that has surrounded Jaylen Brown, because he's been an all-NBA player. He's won a Finals MVP. He's a perennial all-star, right? So you'd think at this point there wouldn't really be much of a conversation around him. But I think because he's always played alongside so many talented players, it kind of warranted, like, what is he without that, right? And through 21 games here, I think all those questions should be answered. In 4 of the last 5 games, he's eclipsed the 33-point mark. The one game where he didn't, he scored a 19-point triple-double, 12 assists, 11 rebounds. He's now scored at least 40 points in 2 of his last 3 games, and he's doing it extremely efficiently, right? We've talked about the mid-range shooting and how he's made that such a big part of his game. Tonight, I felt like he had a burst and an explosion around the basket that he didn't have earlier in the season. You know, he looks healthier. He had a great dunk in this one. But that second and third quarter, he combines for 33 points in those 2 periods, 18 points in the second quarter, 15 in the third, and he was just unstoppable. It did not matter who you put on it, whether it was Josh Hart, whether it was Mikal Bridges, whether it was 2 guys, Jaylen was scoring the ball. And in the fourth quarter, he was just consistently getting double teamed, and rather than saying, you know, I'm going for 50 tonight, I've had the hot hand all night, I'm the reason why we have this lead, he throws good pass after good pass. He finds Jordan Walsh, he kicks it out for corner threes. He's late in the third quarter with the clock winding down, he finds Derrick White for a 3. Like, he did not feel like he had to do this one alone. And that's the ultimate growth. That's the ultimate sign of a real superstar, right? Not just the guy that can put up big numbers, but a guy that closes it out with a win. And I do think Jaylen's been this guy for a long time, but we're seeing him do it now at a rate and at a scope that we really haven't had to see him before, because he's just not playing with multiple all-stars around him, right? In the past, you're saying, okay, he's playing with Kristaps Porzingis and Al Horford as spacers, Drew Holiday, you know, an all-star caliber guard, Jason Tatum, obviously. And so, you know, what is he going to look like without all those pieces? And so it's been so fun to watch this season him, you know, become this guy that it's pretty much hard, you know, impossible to really say, like, oh, I don't believe in this guy's game. I think at this point, if you are a Jaylen Brown detractor, like, I don't know what exactly you're looking at, because he's playing really complete basketball games. And I think the piece that everybody wanted to see was, can it impact winning? And this team, after starting 0-3, they've won 12 of their last 18 games. And again, a lot of big time wins. That's the most impressive part here, is that it's not just that they're feasting on like the bottom of the conference, but they're beating a Knicks team that came in hot, right? They're beating a Pistons team that had won 13 straight, a Cavs team that many people picked to go to the finals this year, right? So it's just been super impressive. And that run that he went on in that second and third quarter, I'm sure he's had better basketball games, but I don't know that I can remember during my, you know, my third year covering the Celtics, any player kind of taking over a game in that sense, where he went from struggling and having a bad first quarter to just taking over the ball game and being borderline unstoppable. And the cherry on top was that he didn't feel like he had to do it alone. In the fourth quarter, he really kind of turned to his teammates, and Jordan Walsh obviously critical there. So I'm starting to think, like, what is Jaylen Brown's ceiling? Is it a first-team All-NBA player? I don't think that's a crazy conversation to have at this point, with the numbers that he's been putting up, with the consistency night in and night out, with the availability. He has yet to miss a game this season, and he's made very clear that that's not a coincidence. That's an aspiration. Earlier in the year, there was a Detroit-New Orleans back-to-back, and the Celtics start 0-3, and he's dealing with the hamstring thing. It's clear he's not 100%, and he was like, I'm playing tomorrow. He was on the injury report, but he was like, I'm playing tomorrow. And that's kind of the year that he has had. So far and away, my biggest takeaway once again after this one, I feel like a broken record, is that we are seeing Jaylen Brown kind of move from a star to a superstar. And maybe you already thought he was a superstar. Maybe you don't believe that he's a superstar because it's only 2 guys in the league. But to me, I've always been a huge believer in his game. I've always felt like he was capable of this, but you just don't know how a situation is going to unfold until it unfolds. And so far that has been the number one thing I've been thinking night in and night out. I mean, if he drops 41 the other night against the Timberwolves, they lose that one, but like he gave them a real chance in a game that was going to be an uphill battle, right? Big part of why they were able to win against the Cavs, the all-around kind of floor game that he had. He's consistently drawing to, and he's making the right read much more often than not. So can't give him enough flowers for his performance in this one. And again, going up against some really talented wing defenders. Like Josh Hart was harassing him to start this game. Mikal Bridges is not somebody you want on you. And this is the Knicks team that eliminated the Celtics last spring. And so they have his number a little bit, right? And early in this game, I was thinking to myself, okay, like he struggles against this New York team. And then next thing you know, at a snap of a finger, it all goes away. And I asked him about a post-game.
Jaylen, it seemed like you were frustrated in that first quarter after a couple of turnovers and fouls, and you were almost like clapping in your own face, I think, if I saw that correctly. And then you come out in the second and third quarter and kind of go crazy offensively. Are you having like a conversation with yourself in that time? Do you know what you need to fix, and it's just like kind of snapping into it? Like what's going through your mind in that moment?
Just right there, I felt good. Like, some days you just feel like when the ball hits your hands, the ball just feels different. Today was one of those days, and it didn't start off that way because I had some turnovers, and I probably was playing a little bit too fast, so I just told myself I'm going to just slow it down just a little bit, and then it was off to the races after that.
As much as Jaylen Brown continues to be the story of this Celtics team, it can't be about one guy. That is even bigger part of the success this season, is that it's much as it feels like it's been about Jaylen and he's the head of the snake, it's so much bigger than him. And he has made sure to note that. He loves getting questions about his teammates. You can tell that that's what he wants the whole kind of narrative around this group to be, is that it's about the collective. And what's been so fun to watch is that it's not just one guy, right? There are moments where it feels like, okay, Jordan Walsh is the guy. He's the 5th player. Derrick, Payton, Jaylen, Nimi, those 4 guys feel like they've secured their spot. And then who's going to be that 5th spot, right? It was Josh early on. It was Hugo for a game. It's been Jordan for the last couple weeks here. But the cool thing is that as much as it's our job to talk about, who has the hot hand tonight? Is it Baylor, who's had some really big moments these past few weeks? Is it Jordan Walsh, who seems like he's just established himself as a legitimate NBA player, scoring the ball, rebounding the ball, crashing the glass, being the most energetic, hardest playing player on the floor? Is it Josh, who is shooting 41% from 3 on the season and is now showing that he can play some center minutes as well, which gives the Celtics the flexibility that I don't know that they had? Hugo, rookie, right? Like everybody thought he was going to be in Maine for a lot of the season. I don't think he's ever going to go up to Maine. Like maybe he's a fan, but at this point you're able to see the way he can defend. It's just innate. He has this instinct that Joe has mentioned many times this season, that he came into this group already having this defensive instinct, this defensive playmaking instinct, right? So a lot of what I've done this season after games, after wins especially, is talk about, okay, tonight was the Josh game, or tonight was the Jordan game, or tonight was the Hugo game, or the Baylor game. And what I'm realizing is that it's really not a battle between those guys, right? Like some guys are going to play more than others. Tonight was actually pretty equal in that Jordan, Josh, and Hugo all were around the 20-minute mark. Baylor only played for a handful of minutes, and honestly, I don't think it's anything that he did, but it was more that everybody else was kind of feeling it, right? But it's never going to be, I don't see a world where it's like Hugo's just buried for 10 games. All 4 of those guys have a role to play for this team. All 4 of those guys can defend at a high level, and they are also playing really hard, and they're playing really intelligently. And so they all have their strengths and weaknesses. Like Baylor's probably the best passer of the 4. Ugo's defensive ceiling is the highest, but Jordan might be the most disciplined of the defenders right now. Josh has been shooting lights out, and also obviously he has the size and ability to rebound that Jordan has as well. So, it's kind of like a puzzle of what do you need in that specific moment, and it might just be who's playing with the right energy right in the second. And you have a couple of plays where you don't look like yourself, Joe's going to go to the next guy, right? It's a luxury of goods that I did not anticipate this team was going to have. My hope going into the season is, can the Celtics hit on one of these guys, right? Can Jordan show flashes of being a legit NBA player? It's not going to be Jordan and Ugo and Baylor, but can one of those guys become legit? And now here we are, and I don't want to get carried away, but we're just a couple of weeks into the season, a couple of months into the season, early December here, and I feel like they might have multiple guys. And again, they're not all going to be parts of the Celtics long term. That's just not realistic, and it's not sustainable. And especially when Tatum comes back, like there's going to be less minutes to go around. But you have some legit players on this roster. Joe Mazzulla has been pushing all the right buttons, and he's been maximizing their potential, and he's keeping them bought in. Like, that's the most impressive part, is that you could have seen Josh kind of shrivel up after moving from the starting lineup to the bench. You could have seen Jordan not be ready to go after he gets his number called because he was a DNP to start the season, right? Or Ugo is a rookie. Like, it's all moving such a fast pace. Like, maybe he's just not ready to go in year one. And all the motivation, all the prep, all the stuff we heard about training camp and preseason and the summer they all spent together and summer league and all of that, you can see it coming to fruition now, where when a guy's number is called, almost every single time they've been ready to go, right? Even Xavier Tillman last game was ready to go against the Cavs when his number was called, plays 30 minutes in that one. So it's been really impressive, just the way it's Joe, it's Brad, it's the player development coaches who have such an integral job that a lot of people don't know about. It's all of the cogs that kind of make this machine go. And again, the guys that get the most credit, the guys that are the face of this, are Jordan and Ugo and Josh. But it's a whole full-blown operation that's happening behind the scenes. And a night like tonight was probably the best example all season long of it's not a battle between them because you can use them in spots, right? First quarter was Jordan. Honestly, thought he was one of the bright spots in that first quarter compared to some of the other guys on the floor. But Ugo comes in and just completely elevates the defensive end of the floor for the Celtics, right? Josh comes in, has some big plays, and then Jordan comes back in the fourth quarter and makes game-winning plays after Ugo had that flagrant foul on Mikal Bridges that was not a great moment for him, but he had his stretch where it was all about him and what he was able to do defensively. So I'm not picking a winner between these guys. I'm not saying I'm hitching my wagon to this guy's going to make it, these guys aren't. I really don't know. Like, I don't have enough of a sample size, and I don't really care either, because the nice thing right now is that they have a luxury of goods, and inevitably there are going to be some injuries. Sometimes, guys going to roll an ankle, miss a couple games, and that's going to open up opportunities for the others. But as long as they're consistently bought into, it doesn't always have to be my night. It's all about the team winning, which is what they've been saying to us pretty consistently all season long. Then that's a great place for this Celtics team to be. And just want to give a quick shout out to our friends over at PrizePicks.
This episode is brought to you by PrizePicks. It is the holiday season, the best time of year for sports, bowl games, basketball matchups, playoff pushes. It is all happening at once. And while you and I are here making decisions every day, what gifts to buy, what to eat, what games to watch, there is one place where it feels good to be right: PrizePicks. There have been some incredible individual performances so far this season. You can watch Steph Curry, who has been incredible. You can watch Patrick Mahomes, Austin Reeves. There have been players all over the country across all different sports. You can select them for your prize picks, whether that is field goals made, free throws made, fantasy score, turnovers even. I know a couple players who really stack up their free throws. Tonight, that was Jaylen Brown. That was not the case in the previous game. Is your fantasy season already over? My team is cooked, but with prize picks, I don't have to wait until next year's draft. Prize picks lets you play fantasy football every week. Pick your favorite players and win when they hit their projection every week. No draft required. On PrizePicks, how you play is up to you. If you want flexibility, choose Flex Play, where you can get paid even if one of your picks misses. And if you want the bigger payouts, go for the Power Play. No matter your play, PrizePicks is a great way to put your takes to the test. Download the app today and use code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, it's good to be right.
The last thing I want to mention is Derrick White, who has gotten a lot of, I don't want to say criticism because everybody loves Derrick, so it never really feels like it's real criticism. But Derrick did not get off to a good start this season. He has been very open and honest about it, that he has felt like, he just has to play better. And there's been a lot of discussion around, is he missing Tatum's gravity? Is he not getting good screens? Is he not getting good passes? Is he creating too much? And he has always just said, I just got to play better. And I think the tides have started to turn with Derrick over the past couple of weeks. I've mentioned it that he's playing with that pep in his step, with that extra joy. In this game, he scores 22 points. He hits 50% of his shots. And really what was most pivotal is that Derrick White, to me, is known as the guy that hits the big late fourth quarter three that he probably shouldn't have even taken. Like, that is the quintessential Derrick White moment where clock's winding down, he pulls up for like a Steph Curry-like three and splashes it. And he had that again in this game. He's had that now for a few of these games where down the stretch, he is so reliable. He obviously had, I think it was against the Magic where he had 3 threes in the final couple minutes there. Against the Pistons, that was. And so that to me is like quintessential Derrick White. And you're starting to see it come together for him. And obviously Peyton Pritchard had the massive night the other night, 42 points against the Cavs. They needed every one of those. But tonight, Derrick wasn't the star. I think the story of this game is about Jaylen. It's about the young guys. It's about all the winning plays. Sam Hauser, who got 2 great stops, and Jalen Brunson down the stretch. So Derrick White's going to be a little bit of an unsung hero here. But I want to acknowledge how important he is to this team. We all know that. And it feels like his confidence and his flow and his joy for the game is starting to come back around. And with that, his shots coming back around. He's quicker. Like, he just seems like his head, he's not putting his head down as much as he used to earlier in the season. So underrated element of this win is Derrick White's contributions. You needed every one of his baskets. You needed every basket you got in this game, right? They win by 6, but it was very, very close there. It was a one-possession game late in that fourth quarter. And so everybody's going to remember, Jordan Walsh's big putback. I think he had 6 points in that fourth. Josh Minott hit a big 3. Obviously, Jaylen had some big plays getting to the line, the dunk down the stretch to just kind of close it out. But Derrick was an underrated piece here. He'll continue to kind of fly under the radar, I think, as long as he doesn't kind of go off. A lot of people expected, myself included, Derrick to have like an all-star caliber season or an all-NBA season. And that doesn't appear to be the trajectory that he's on. And so now there's this like spotlight of why isn't Derrick taking this leap? But in reality, the player that Derrick's been the last few years, you'll take that player in a heartbeat, right? And if he can continue to produce the way that he has when he had all that talent around him now, that would be amazing. And I think you're starting to see that more and more. So again, story of the season for me has been more about Jaylen and about the evolution of these young guys finding their spots, finding ways to contribute. I didn't even mention Neemias Queta tonight. I thought he had some great moments, but he has just been such a revelation for this team. I view him as a very legit starting center in the NBA. Obviously, he's raised their defensive floor, the defensive rating so much when he's been out there. He's been one of the net rating leaders in this league. But Derrick's going to continue to be pivotal. We know that. That's been a theme for years now since he got traded to Boston. The Celtics go as he goes. And so it's really good to see him kind of start to turn the corner. So big picture, this is a winning basketball team. This is a legit team. They're 12-9 now. I think they're going to make the playoffs. I think they're going to continue surprising people. It's still early, 21 games in. It's a long season. There's going to be highs. There's going to be lows. There's going to be injuries. There's going to be slumps. Like, all that is inevitable, but you have to feel good about where this group is at. You have to feel good about the culture that's been established, the mindset, the coaching staff. Everybody, it seems like they're just getting the very, every last ounce of potential from this group. And everywhere that I go in my life, whether it's talking to friends or family or just people on the street, people at the Garden, everybody loves this team, it seems like. Like, they're just playing hard. They're lovable. They're a bunch of guys that are trying to break through and make it in the league. A bunch of guys that are trying to prove something, whether it's Peyton, that he can be a starter, whether it's Jaylen, that he can be the lead guy. Everybody has something, whether or not they want to say it, it's clear in the way that they're playing, the way they're approaching the season. And it's been super fun to watch. It's been super fun to cover. So much, again, I feel like a broken record now, but so much to love from this effort, so much to love from this past week of basketball, which very well could have been a massive losing streak when you're talking about the competition that they've been up against, right? They win big-time games without Queta, both against the Pistons, both against the Cavs. They almost stole that Minnesota game. They were leading in a lot of that one. I felt like they should have won that one as well. So, again, really good stretch here. It doesn't really get much easier. They have the Wizards on Thursday, which should be an easier one on the road. I'll be there. Friday night, the Lakers come to town. They've been one of the most consistent teams in the league this season. And then Sunday, Celtics go to Toronto. They've been a surprise kind of Eastern Conference playoff team. So we'll see how it all plays out. It's still early. I don't want to get carried away, but it's hard not to when you're seeing the kinds of performances this group is scrapping together. They've just been the harder playing team night in and night out, and I think that's been the most impressive part. And a lot of guys are becoming legit NBA players, which is really fun to watch. So let me know what you thought about this one in the comment section. As always, we have the full press conferences available on CLNS Media. We spoke with Hugo Gonzalez, Jordan Walsh, Joe Mazzulla, Jaylen Brown after this game. All those press conferences are on CLNS Media. We also have our full-length almost 2-hour post-game show, the Garden Report, so check that out as well. Make sure you're subscribed to CLNS Media, CLNS All Access, both of our channels. And I always appreciate you guys watching. Let me know what you thought about this game. Let me know if there's something you want me to talk about in the future of this podcast. Put it in the comment section, and I'll make sure to rate it. Thanks again.